And coming to you live from my parents' house, we got episode 28 of the Changavi show. Those of you that are new, welcome in. Those of you that are the oldies but the goodies, hello, hello. It's nice to see y'all again, even though I really don't see you. Um, but yeah, I hope you're doing well. Hope everyone's staying good out there. Yeah, that's pretty much my show. No, I'm joking. We got a lot to talk about today, so I thought, fuck it, might as well hop in. I am your host, always your host, Anuch Changavi, aka the Bay Area's finest. If you guys got the pun, you got the pun. If you're on YouTube, you definitely got that fucking pun. If you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts and you're listening to this, maybe not. But next time, maybe you should watch on YouTube. I don't know. Okay. Anyway, let's transition to this. My vibes. We always do a little weekly check-in here on the show as to like how I'm doing because I'm egotistical like that, and you guys definitely need to know how I'm doing. I had a shitty ass night last night. Okay, let me tell you something. I was about to record this episode. I was about to record this episode. I did record the episode. I was about an hour into it. It was going well. It was a little long, but it was going well. And then boom, my internet blacks out, and then all my Wi-Fi goes to crap. And then like I'm basically just forced to say fuck it and turn off my computer, and then my battery life just dwindles. I thought I had enough time. I didn't plan it well, and then my computer died in the middle of the episode. So I gave up. I was like, all right, I am going to do this tomorrow. And so here I am, 7:45 in the morning, like off 4 hours of sleep, a little bit of caffeine in me, got some more. So excuse me if I decide to drink a little bit of coffee on this episode. But yeah, here I am with a little coffee. We're gonna get through this, and we're gonna get the information we need to get out because that's what we do here on the podcast, man. If it doesn't work out recording in the night, we record in the morning. We record in the afternoon. Hustle. Hashtag Gary V Life, baby. Oh no, I'm kidding. Um, in terms of other stuff, though, everything's been going pretty well. I can't complain. I was just a little sad about that yesterday. That I couldn't get that episode done so I could sleep in this morning, but it's okay. We're here. We're having fun now. This is what I love to do is just talk about stuff. So let's, enough about me. I'm boring. I'm stupid. Why does anyone want to even know about me? So let's just transition to the actual topics that we're going to talk about today. This episode is going to be very media focused, is what I realized running through it last night. And the first topic we're going to have is related to the future of sports media. Look, I've always said that sports media and the media in general, like mainstream media, is they're kind of reminiscent of each other. They're more or less the same because they all come from the same system. And I've said that for a long time. I think both sports media and sort of mainstream political media, I guess is what I'll use for the sake of comparison, because that's the one I know the best, are gate kept as hell. And they're unwilling to move on from the way things were covered in the 1980s. Because in the 1980s, you had, the biggest newspapers in the world. You had cable news that was on the rise. And so you were basically getting your news at a specific time per day, whether that be 7 o'clock at night on the evening news, or whether that be 7 o'clock in the morning in the newspaper that got delivered to your front porch every morning. So it depended on kind of what was going on. But now it's forced to change because you can get your news at any point. You can get your news at any time. You could open up Twitter right now and get some news. I could get the Deshaun Watson news before everyone else because I'm up earlier, right? For my sports fans out there, or for my mainstream political fans. If Joe Biden decides to make a decision right now at 7:48 in the morning, I could get the decision right now because it would be all over Twitter. And that's just the 24-hour news cycle that we live in. And now it's being forced to change, sort of, both these things, because people are getting sick and tired of the gatekeeping. People are like, yo, why is it only a specific set of people that get to report on these issues? I could be up all night. I have a platform in social media where I could get, my own stuff out there. And instead of the sick, bland coverage that is, and I'm getting sick of that I can't talk. I'm getting sick of the same old bland coverage that's just being put out there time after time. So why don't I do it differently? Because there's different ways to deliver the news than just one. And so then, and and sports, right? And sports media. And so bringing it back to sports media, one of the main different sorts of people on sports media is this guy by the name of Pat McAfee. Pat McAfee is a former NFL punter. He played in the NFL for like 10 or 11 years, did a lot of good stuff with the NFL, particularly on special teams. He was always known as a bit of a loud guy, had a pretty big personality, has a big mouth. That's just who Pat McAfee is. And then eventually, when he called it quits with his career, he decided to get into media for a little bit. So he worked with Barstool Sports, kind of worked on some like fun, loud media, which is kind of what Barstool Sports is headed. It's kind of like media for the unfiltered media. That's kind of unfiltered sports takes, unfiltered things related to like gambling, sports gambling, all that stuff. And then about 3 to 4 years ago, Pat McAfee decided to leave Barstool Sports and he wanted to make his own radio show. And so he basically named it the Pat McAfee Show after himself, like me. Haha. And he decided to have his own radio show that would cover sports. So he was initially on, I believe it was Sirius XM, which was like satellite radio. But then he quickly decided that, like, yo, the radio's not going to work for me because there were so many regulations. He couldn't be himself, is what he realized. He couldn't be the unfiltered version of himself because he liked to swear. He liked to, say exorbitant things that maybe weren't suitable for the ears of children that were listening to the radio. And so he quit the radio and he moved over to YouTube. And his show began to blow up as he moved over to YouTube because people and Pat McAfee, for those of you that don't know, has a very like frat boy-esque sense of humor. He just sounds like an overgrown frat boy. Personally, not all the time is it for me, but I could see why that it's appealing to a wide variety of people. And so he brought him and his boys over to YouTube and they just started riffing and talking about sports, and they quickly caught popularity. And he started getting more subscribers and more followers and all of these things. And it was really this unfiltered sports talk, which for the first time was being delivered on a consistent basis, right? You would have little segments of it, maybe with like First Take and Undisputed, and those memes would go viral. Pat McAfee was like, why don't I just take that and give it to people 3 hours a day? And that's exactly what he did. And people appreciated the full kind of a show that he was giving every morning, I believe it was, and still is every morning. Appreciated the full sort of scope that he was given every morning, and it really attracted an audience. And then it started to get better because he started to actually bring on people from the league. Pat McAfee was a former NFL player. He has tons of connections within the league, whether it be through the media or through players. And he brought on this one particular player for a weekly interview, and it started to catch absolute fire because that player's name is Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, for those of you that don't know, is one of the biggest quarterbacks in the NFL. He is one of the marquee faces of the league. And so a lot of people tuned into those interviews because they wanted to see their favorite player get interviewed by Pat McAfee. Point being, their favorite player. Point being, Aaron Rodgers started opening up to Pat McAfee and the boys, and he started revealing stuff about his career and started talking about different things. And his sort of role on the show, or not role on the show, but his interviews and his dialogue between him and Pat and the boys on the show began to really take over because you were getting a side of Aaron Rodgers that ESPN reporters, shirt and tie, mainstream national media reporters couldn't get out of him. Aaron Rodgers was known to be a tough nut to crack in the media, even the Green Bay media. And so all of a sudden, he goes on Pat McAfee, and these reporters that are looking for content and looking for ways to interview Aaron Rodgers but couldn't find the way are now suddenly like, yo, Pat McAfee is doing this at such a high level, and they're able to bring so much of his personality out. And that's when a lot of people started to realize, like, oh, crap, we may have something. We may have a problem. Houston or Green Bay, we may have a problem. Sorry for the pun. But listen, they brought on Aaron Rodgers and they started bringing on other members of the media like Ian Rappaport, Adam Schefter, Tom Pelissero. And it just started all coming together. It gave the show a whole new element, and you kind of started to get an unfiltered, more of like a dialogue about sports, which made every sort of party feel involved. And eventually, I guess FanDuel recognized that because Pat McAfee signed a huge deal with FanDuel very recently for about $25 million after going independent and leaving Barstool Sports, leaving ESPN, where he was doing sideline reporting. And now he's making $25 million a year working for his sponsor, and he's changing the game. Everyone, there's a lot. He's like the newcomer in the industry. People hella like him. You either like him or you hate him. There's a lot of people in mainstream media that don't like him because he's taking away their views and he's taking away their clicks. And listen, it's not just Pat McAfee that's changing the game. It's not just this one guy. There's a huge community of people out there that are part of 49ers Twitter. And I'm sure, sorry, not part of, I gave it away. There's a huge community of people out there that are absolutely into sports and want a dialogue and want a conversation going at all times of the day. And, I think I'm a part of a few of those communities, right? I would like to consider three communities in particular. I'd say Warriors Twitter, 49ers Twitter, and ATP Twitter, which is like the men's professional tour for tennis. And now that I'm a part of all those communities, I can firmly tell you that the one that I'm most a part of is 49ers Twitter. And why? Is because there's constant content. There's constantly people putting stuff out. There's a constant dialogue going on within this sub Twitter community about different offseason events, different acquisitions, different draft choices, all of these things. And it's a constantly moving conversation. And I would argue that 49ers Twitter is kind of an example of this backlash against the regular mainstream media, because before Twitter, every sports fan, but let's say you're a Bay Area sports fan, would just get their information from one of five news outlets, right? Ira Miller, Lowell Cohn, Ann Killian, whoever it was, right? You would go to the old school sports columnists who covered the team in the 80s. They didn't really have social media because social media didn't exist. And so you would read their columns, and if you really felt a certain way about the column, you could write a letter to them at their office, and then they would write you a letter back. And so it was definitely a little more personal if you did get the opportunity to have an interaction, but there was also very little opportunity to have an interaction. Now, these same columnists and these beat reporters who are covering the team can post tweets, and you can get direct interaction from fans. You get direct feedback coming right at you. And it feels like a more involved process rather than, for the fan at least, rather than just, passively consuming coverage for the most part. And now there's this whole new generation of like what I like to call fan journalists, where they believe that you can cover the team from home because you have access to film, you have access with technology, you got access to film, you got access to the games, you got access to pretty much everything. And you can kind of sit at home and give your own sort of basement commentary, but for lack of a better word, like I do, and give your own opinion through your own podcast that you could fire up, or whatever Twitter has turned into for sports. You could blast out a couple tweets. People could, get engagement on it, and all of a sudden you're looking at a little bit of a following. So it's a place where anybody can have a conversation about their favorite teams, right? And there's sub Twitters for every single one of the teams, I'm sure, right? I'm sure there's a Cincinnati Bengals Twitter. I'm sure there's an Arizona Cardinals Twitter. And those are teams that are maybe smaller markets. I'm personally not involved with them because I'm not a fan, but I can tell you from experience of 49er Twitter, there's so many cool content creators who are like making their stuff up, or not making their stuff up, but like making a community and making a conversation that people want to come back to and people want to get more involved with, because there's a lot of, again, fan journalists for lack of a better word, sorry. But media members who are fans, to actual beat reporters who are getting involved with the conversation, to fans who are just, fans like me who like to sit down and tune into the games on Sunday and also listen to the weekly coverage. And all of that compiled together is pretty incredible. And listen, people call Twitter a toxic place. It is. To a certain extent, Twitter is definitely a toxic place. But if you want to engage with other fans and be involved in the community, I think it definitely is one of those places that you could do it. I mean, look at Grant Cohn. I interviewed him on my podcast like a year ago. His role on Twitter is really just starting a conversation, getting the ball rolling, and getting people involved, because he usually posts something on Twitter. A lot of people get pissed off about it. They make content about it. They make content talking to him about it directly, or agreeing with him or disagreeing with him. And it turns into this whole debate. And now everyone can just make content and contribute to the conversation because everyone's got access to the same stuff. They got access to the same followers. You tag a couple people, it gets a little noticed, and boom, you're in the conversation. It makes the structures of mainstream media just seem passive, because now when you're with Grant, when you're with Grant and when you're in 49ers Twitter, you're in a community where you get constant feedback on your thoughts, where it's constantly moving back and forth and the conversation continues to go. And now you have this like different generation of sports journalism where instead of just putting content out with, hardly any response, now it's like it's just it's a conversation that moves throughout the day, throughout the night, 24/7, 365. It's pretty cool. It's actually very cool. If you think about it like that. And you can exit the conversation when you want. You can enter the conversation when you want. It's dope, in my opinion. There's a lot of people that are anti-social media, but whatever. And then I want to transition this to TikTok, because you know how much I love TikTok. TikTok is 100% one of the places where you can get a lot of following. And in my opinion, there's a lot of sports TikTokers as well. There's a lot of people who give their opinions on sports, and people and fans respond, or they don't respond, or they like the post and engage with it. And I think for me, there's actually like three guys in particular that I was just I've been very impressed by, I guess, on TikTok with sports journalism. And they're Elite Takes, that's the account name, The Next Network, and Theo Ash. And those are the three dudes that I'm just like, wow, like I'm floored by. It's pretty cool. Especially like Nico and The Next Network. I find it so funny. These kids are like 15. They're 15 or 16, and they like are recording content using like the TikTok green screen from their like high school bathroom, because they're like, I just got out of math class, but Russell Wilson got traded to the Broncos, so we got to talk about it. And they got big followings on TikTok. They're not just like 3,500 follower people. These guys have 250, 300,000 followers, and it's kind of starting to translate to their Twitter too. They're starting to make more of a conversation happen. And it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool what like Nico's doing. And especially these Next Network kids. I want to talk about them for a second, because they have their own sports broadcasting thing. They don't wait for people. They're not like, yo, I'm gonna wait for ESPN to give me a job. They're like, no, I'm gonna do it myself. And so they got on Twitch. They started their own Twitch stream, and they basically call most games. They call a lot of football games. They call a lot of basketball games, college basketball games. Whenever they have time between homework and school and all this stuff, they're calling a game. And I think that's so cool. It gives you the reps. It gives you practice. And they're still young. They're like 15 years old. Yeah, it doesn't matter how many followers they have, even though they have like 200,000 followers on TikTok, which is pretty impressive for their age. But these kids are super knowledgeable. It's clear they work their butts off. It's clear that they want to work in journalism, and I think that's awesome. And so shout out to these kids, man, because there's kids that are starting this up. Nico, The Next Network kids, Michael and Josh, they're actually out here doing the work, and so that's really cool, in my opinion. So shout out to you guys. And then there's Theo. Man, Theo's kind of the odd one out in this case, because he's my age or maybe a year older than me. And I would say he kind of has that personality where he likes to bring the controversy to him. And I love that. So he puts out controversial sports takes. He's not afraid to have his opinion out there. And I love that. I think he's really cool. And he kind of reminds me of more of like a talking head, not to like, for lack of a better word, not to like diminish what he's doing, because he's doing a lot of work and he's doing a lot of stuff. And he's got a podcast with his two friends called Stay Hot. Very good. They do a really fantastic job, and they do a good job of covering the entire landscape of both the NBA and the NFL. So definitely go check out the Stay Hot podcast. But my advice, though, to all three of these, or four of these guys, yo, don't take the job offers from these companies, because they're going to come knocking. The fact is, ESPN is looking for talent. Okay, I would not be surprised if the next couple of years Nico's like hired for an internship at ESPN or something like that, because they're noticing. They're like, yo, this kid's got 250,000 followers on TikTok, and he's making like really good content. Yo, we gotta vulture him before he goes independent. Go independent, kids. Go independent. That's my advice to every kid out there. Go independent. We need more independent journalists. Look at what Pat McAfee's doing. Look at what y'all should look at Grant Cohn and what he's been doing. There's examples of people who have gone independent and have had wildly successful careers. It is 100% possible. Working for networks, in my opinion, is bullcrap, because they censor what you say. You can only say certain things. You can't be your full self. And I don't like that. I'm just not the biggest fan, but I understand if you want to, make a bag and work for a network and be stable and have health insurance. I mean, that's cool. Like, I have no problem with it. But I think going independent is the future of sports journalism. I think instead of having reporters from The Athletic, having reporters from specific media outlets that have been around for a while, you're going to start to have independent podcasters and bloggers and freelance journalists who are going to be in those press conference rooms in maybe the next 15 to 20 years is where I see this whole thing going, because they have followers and people listen to them rather than listening to the mainstream media. And sports media and the media in general is just changing in the future and in the present. And so people need to get with the program. You can't just sit here and not acknowledge the fact that YouTube and independent podcasts and all of these things are huge. And the Herd and First Take are things of the past. That was the initial generation. And then now social media is blown up and everybody can be Stephen A. Smith from First Take and rant off and have their own takes on TikTok. You don't have to wait for Tuesday morning to watch Stephen A. Smith be Stephen A. Smith. You can build the platform yourself, which is the coolest part. And so McAfee, Grant, the TikTokers that I talked about, they're creating the content for the future. They're creating the short form sports content. And in my opinion, journalism may be gatekept, but I believe in sports, there's a huge opportunity right now. If you want to do something, if you want your takes to be heard by other people, if you want to gather a following, you can 100% do it. And that's the coolest part of this whole situation, is that you're in full control. And that's so cool to me. That's so cool. But listen, we talked a little bit about sports media. We talked a little bit about what the future is going to look like of that. I've wanted to do that topic for a while. I love the media. I love talking about it. Maybe as someone who wants to be a part of it in some independent, on my own terms, it's kind of fun to be able to talk about that stuff. But let's move on, right? Because we got a lot of topics to talk about. And we're going to transition from the future of sports media to celebrity philanthropy, which is a topic that's very interesting and it's multi-pronged in my opinion, because there's a lot of things to unpack here. But I'm going to try to do the best that I can. Of course, drinking a little bit of coffee because it's still early in the morning. Because here's the thing. There are a lot of celebrities out there that actually do the work for their various charities and they make it happen. And that's awesome. And then there are the celebrities that just throw money at the problem, which gets the headline and gets the click. And a lot of people share that post and say, look how good so-and-so is because they're donating $3 million to a problem. But where's that money going? Where's the money going, right? Listen, let's talk about Angelina Jolie for a second. I give her a lot of credit because she's on the ground in Yemen, which we're going to talk about Yemen later. And something that you can't say for a lot of celebrities is they're not on the ground. And Angelina Jolie was like, fine, I'll show you what I'm doing. She's on the ground. I don't know what kind, like if the effort that she's actually making is resulting in work, but the fact that she's showing the thought and the effort to go out to a war-torn country where COVID is a massive risk and it's a health risk and it's just a risk as a human being to be in Yemen right now. Shout out to her because she's actually doing something that not a lot of other celebrities can do. I can tell you that much. And I feel like we live in an era where social media can be equated to words. And what I mean by that is there's always been this proverb that are like actions can speak louder than words. And now social media used to be technology, but now it's like social media is equated to words. The black square, for example, during Black Lives Matter, you post a black square. Oh, he's anti-BLM. Wow. Cool. Does that do anything? Does it do anything? You can post a picture of the Ukrainian flag and say stop war. Does it do anything in the grand scheme of things? Did you really do anything? Did you do anything? No, you didn't. But here's the thing. I feel like people in our generation just kind of move on to the next topic of conversation because people admit things. They're like, oh, it's wrong. And then they're like, here's some things that we can do to help and then move on because there's always tragic stuff going on in the world. And this can't happen. This frankly cannot happen. I feel like no one is checking into the intricate details of where the money is flowing, right? Where these posts, what these posts are actually doing in the grand scheme of all of this. It's funny. Mila Kunis donated like $3 million. Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher donated or matched like the $3 million and started a GoFundMe that raised about $30 million for funding in Russia and Ukraine. And I was like, that's awesome. That's great, right? That's a lot of money that can make an actual impact there. But where is the $30 million going? And so I did a little bit more research, really try to unpack what was going on here. And I found out that the CEO and the founder of Airbnb, Brian Chesky, was going to give housing and places to stay for people fleeing the country. So that's cool. He was going to pay all the hosts and give Ukrainian refugees a place to stay. Fantastic. Okay, but what about the other money? $30 million is a lot of money. You can buy a lot of stuff. So then they directed me to this company called Flexport. And Flexport has a really vague mission as to what they're doing in Ukraine. Listen, I'm not saying that they're not doing work. It's just very vague. They're like, we're providing humanitarian aid to people in need. AKA, what does that mean, bro? That's just the most vague sentence of all time. I don't know. I don't know if it's just me. I don't know if it's just me like digging into the issue a little bit, but I wish there was some more accountability and some more transparency when it came to celebrities and where the money was going, rather than me having to dig for it, and rather than the initial headline being the biggest thing, right? I would love it if it was like Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher are donating $30 million to Flexport to provide specifically food and water, or like not even food and water, but like specifically this, that, and the other for these Ukrainian refugees. Then I'd be like, okay, I know where the money's going. And this isn't to attack Mila Kunis or Ashton Kutcher. I'm sure they're great people who are doing an amazing thing, because donating $3 million is a lot, even for a celebrity. So shout out to them. But look, we'll transition. We'll put celebrities on the back burner for a second, because I want to talk about billionaires, because billionaires give a lot of their money away, right? We see this all the time. There's the Gates Foundation. The Bezoses have their own foundation. Well, now they're divorced, so I'm pretty sure they both have their own individual foundation. I'm sure Elon Musk has his. I haven't looked into it. But the one I want to focus on in particular is the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative. Okay, I'm not saying, and the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative is more of a nonprofit than it is a foundation, so it's not purely charitable. But let's dig into some of the philanthropy and see if it's actually benefiting people, right? So I dug in a little bit into the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative, and I was trying to see like what was going on. And there's been a lot of controversy with this initiative, because there have actually been employees that have gone to Mark Zuckerberg's face and straight up said that he should resign from the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative, because he is being a hypocrite with his actions over at Facebook, with what's going on over there. There's just not a lot of good stuff. And he also has this initiative on the side, which he claims is a completely separate company, where he's basically doing the goals to counteract what he's doing. Throughout time, billionaires and really the richest people in the world in general, have tended to use these charities to have tremendous tax breaks, and to actually point out the quote unquote work that's being done, right? And a lot of these organizations that billionaires own, I'm not targeting any billionaires in particular, but there's a lot of organizations that billionaires own that have a lot of vague mission statements, right? The Chan Zuckerberg Initiative is their main statement is basically saying, we are trying to come up with tech-infused solutions to end disease. Tech-infused solutions to end disease. There are like 18 million different diseases out there, bro. Well, how are you going to do this? There's no plan of action. There's no real thing. This is their mission statement. And so, yeah, it seems amazing on the surface. And there are a lot of surface level clickbaity people who are like, yes, Chan Zuckerberg, let's go. He's doing good work. But like, what is happening? What is actually happening? Like, are we digging beyond just the mission statement? Are we critically thinking about this? Because, listen, there's a lot of good causes that these initiatives support. I'm not doubting that. I'm not saying it's wrong to do charitable work. It's good to do it. But where I'm going with it is what exactly is getting done? What is the shit that's getting done here? And there's been, like I said, there's also been many reports on Chan Zuckerberg's initiative that they basically they try not to get political, and they basically use Chan Zuckerberg's initiative to cover their ass for what Facebook has been doing the last 5 years and how unpopular that they've been in the media. That's been a lot of hypotheses as to why this was formed, because this initiative was actually formed, I think, back in 2016. So like right at the height of Facebook's unpopularity. And in addition, on their website, I found this to be kind of hypocritical. Chan Zuckerberg's initiative is trying to promote racial equity within education, which is a great cause. But the problem is there's a lot of conflicting actions coming over there from one of their founders, Mark Zuckerberg, with what he's doing with Facebook, because it took him till the very last second to censor Donald Trump. He continues to leave a lot of racial hate groups up on Facebook so they can meet there and congregate and all of these things. So I don't know. I personally do have no idea, right? It's not just Zuckerberg and the billionaires, though, right? Let's bring it back to the celebrities because we're talking about celebrity philanthropy for a second. And celebrities are just making foundations left and right, like their dinner reservations. I mean, it's kind of crazy. They're like, I'll take the 8, the 8:30, and the 9, right? It's like, oh, 3 foundations. I mean, with the success and the name value that celebrities have, I'm sure starting a foundation for them is like a little, it's just more light work because they already have attorneys. So the attorneys just fill out a little more nonprofit paperwork and then boom, you got your own nonprofit. I'm sure it's harder than that, but they, the point is for celebrities, I don't think it's that hard. I mean, shit, Anna Delvey pulled this off. Anybody who's watched Inventing Anna, you saw a scam artist just pull off building up a foundation. If she can do it, I mean, who, for celebrities who are actually have the legal capital, it's probably hella easy. But here's the thing. Celebrities have done this for name brand a lot of the time, right? I was doing the research and I found a few people that have kind of done this for main brand for the most part and not really other reasons rather than the work, right? So let's take a look at Tyra Banks for a second. She's got this thing called the Tie Zone Foundation. I looked into her documents a little bit, particularly from the past. So, like 2008, 2009, she was giving out $35,000 in salaries. Fine. But how much was she actually giving out, Anuj? She only gave out $32,000. So, basically, she was paying the people of her nonprofit more than the money she was actually giving out, which means that that's a little suspect. That being said, a representative did come on the record and say it was a tax mistake and that they made a mistake on the tax form or something. But the only charity grading site that I could find was called Charity Navigator. And they basically said that she's like a failing charity. Like, you should not donate to this charity. It's a little suspect. So don't donate to the Tyra Banks Foundation if you guys want to. Please, no. And then you got Justin Timberlake. Okay. And I love JT as much as the next guy, right? It's like a stuck in a mirror. I love that. Justin Timberlake spent $146,000 on operating expenses, which included travel and other services. Fine, Anuj, but how much did he give out? How much money did Justin Timberlake give out? He only distributed $32,000 of that money. And listen, this was like way back. This was like 2008, 2009, 2010. So he could have very well turned it around. I have no idea. But most of it went to another foundation called the Jane Goodall Foundation. And so basically, he distributed $32,000, but it went to another foundation rather than him actually doing some work, which was kind of suspect in itself. And point goes to show that celebrities kind of set up these one-stop shop foundations to show their image is like great, and we're good people. But of course, there are a lot of good people who do good, but they don't get the credit. I mean, it's kind of funny, but these celebrities are just setting these foundations up because it makes them look better and it gives them a good PR image. And here's the thing, here's the kicker to all this. A lot of celebrities don't even put their own money into foundations. Which is not uncommon. They actually just crowdfund capital at this point, or they have different ways of getting the money. And I mean, I don't know if you guys have heard about Brad Pitt, but I'm going to go through this real quick. There's a whole story with Brad Pitt and what he did with his Make It Right Foundation. But basically, his goal was to start the Make It Right Foundation to help housing in New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina, and basically like build up neighborhoods that needed the help. And so he did that, and they did a good job. They built about 100 houses, but it basically came to again, by the mainstream media, basically found out that recently there's only about 6 of those houses that are actually like feasible. Most of them have like rotting wood, the foundation's wrong, the houses are basically falling apart. And so many of these residents are basically paying for repairs out of their pockets, which is crazy because they thought they were getting this nice charitable gift from Brad Pitt and they were getting this revived neighborhood. But in reality, they just went back to square one because you're paying for all the repair costs. The house is falling apart. A lot of residents have had to move out. So it's turning this huge disaster. Yeah. And here's the thing I would like to see, right? Because let's come to a solution to all this. Celebrity philanthropy. What's the solution here for us, the consumer, for the people who give to these people? Here's the thing. In my little bit of research, I found it incredibly difficult to find a way to see which charities were accountable, which charities were actually doing the work. And so what I realized is that, we need to find a better way to get the information across. And it's difficult to tell if a charity is legitimate or not, even for the consumer. or a consumer that shouldn't give the money to the charity. And so we need to come up with a better way to keep these charities accountable rather than just let them look good and us giving them money when in reality it's going to their operating expenses, right? Because I don't want that. I want the philanthropy to actually go to the philanthropy, if that makes sense. So let's try and push the needle forward in regards to celebrity philanthropy and all of these things. Just my opinion, but whatever. But let's transition back to the media because I love the media. And I give the White House a lot of crap. I give the White House a crap ton of crap all the time. But they did a good thing. They did a good thing recently. So I don't know if you guys heard about this headline. It's written by this girl. It was written by this woman by the name of Taylor Lorenz. She's a New York Times reporter. And she reported that the TikTokers, influencers, were getting briefed on Russia and Ukraine because the White House started to notice the amount of information or started to notice the amount of people that were listening to their information. And so me, knowing full well how much media and journalism is changing and it's becoming gatekept, we're a big fan of this. So Mr. Robinette Biden, Mr. Joseph Robinette Biden, and his staff, for the first time in their administration, made a move that actually makes sense. Okay, but before y'all freak out, because there's going to be a lot of people in here that are like, Anuj, why does the D'Amelio family need to be there? Why do any lifestyle creators who have multiple millions of followers need to be in this briefing about Russia and Ukraine? It doesn't make sense. Why? Okay, stop. Stop just reporting because you're a TikToker yourself. Now, here's the thing. The 30 creators from initial reports were basically all put on a call with Jen Psaki. They're 30 of the biggest creators in the news and current event space. So there's like Marcus Diapola, I believe was one of them, and a couple others. My fucking best friend, Marcus Diapola. Love that guy. Just absolutely love him. You can go on my TikTok and just see how much I love his zoomed in ugly face. I'm kidding. He's not ugly. But his zoomed in face. God. So it was like 30 creators who were basically put on a call with White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki, and she ran them down, basically gave them a White House briefing of sorts. That's basically what the press gets every day. She ran them down what the whole spiel of what journalists get, and it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool because it was cool because the creators got to ask questions and get further clarification as to what was going on, and it was sort of this huge thing where they basically got their own version of a press conference, which not a lot of people can say that they have. I think the list of influencers that were actually briefed is confidential and they're not really going out there and revealing that. I do have a feeling, though, under the desk, they were definitely invited, and Marcus Diapola as well. I have a feeling was also there and filling people in on what was going on. Look, basically, here's what I think of this whole situation. The White House just said, fuck you to mainstream media. They're like, dude, your information is fucking useless. We're just going to give it to a bunch of influencers, and we're going to have a little briefing for them too, because they realize, I think the White House is starting to realize that like mainstream media is no longer the only one reporting information about this, about the situations and stuff that's going on. And we need to have that. And there's actual discourse being had and actual conversations and messaging being delivered through TikTok. So we need to use this. The White House recognized, even though Biden's almost 81 years old, something in his head told him the media is no longer just CNN. This is the new age. It's the new age. It's the new age, guys. This is where we're at when it comes to media. I'm pissed I didn't get the invite. Personally, I'm pissed. But here's the thing. This is a huge goal of mine now, because now I know that Robinette Biden is giving out briefings to people. So it's time to gain some following. It's time to gain some followers. It's time to really go up here in the current events and news space, because now I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, yo, I might have an opportunity. If I gain enough followers, if I work hard enough, maybe I could be at that briefing and actually ask Jen Psaki and Biden the hard questions that I've wanted to ask for so long. It's been a goal. It's become a goal, which is super cool to get into those briefings, to have enough clout to just be at these like influencer press conferences. Yeah, they may be dumbed down for the TikTokers, but whatever. I don't care. That's so dope. And that's the thing. TikTok is the future. So whether you like it or not, social media journalism will continue to rise. This is just a huge event within the scoop of that. So they're going to have, and the thing is on social media, yes, is it an unproductive conversation a lot of the time? Absolutely. But is it more productive than what Don Lemondrop and Andy Cooper doing on CNN? No, yes, it is more productive because there's actually an active conversation being had. And the media and the definition of the media is changing. So let's acknowledge that, accept the TikTokers, embrace them, and move on. Okay. All right. Let's move on because we got to do actual journalism on this show for a second to even be invited to these. So but I really wanted to talk about this issue because it's definitely held a place in my heart for a while. Yemen, I've been meaning to talk about what's going on in Yemen for quite some time now, but I haven't been given the opportunity to do so. But let's be real. Most Americans don't really know what's going on in Yemen. And the only reason they know Yemen is because Chandler tried to escape Janice and said that he was going to move to Yemen. For those of you that got that reference, you are elite. It's a Friends reference. For those of you that don't know, go watch the show. But what a lot of people don't know about Yemen, besides it being a place that Chandler escaped, is that it's one of the poorest nations in the entire world. I'm talking like poorer than a lot of African nations, South American, Central American nations. It is deep, like up there, the poorest. And there's not a lot of resources flowing into the nation itself because there's been this massive civil war that's been happening. And the modern origins of the Civil War kind of start from 2011, where there was this unsuccessful transition of power between a couple of presidents. There's former President Saleh, who was who was transitioning the power to President Hadi, and out of spite, there was just a lot of anger going on within Yemen at the time, and there was this movement formed called the Houthi movement, and they gained a lot of traction because leadership in the country was super unstable. And so eventually the Houthis were able to gain some military power and take over, and they took control of the capital, which is called Sana'a, which is actually a really beautiful name. I like the name of the capital. Then after that, there was like the Saudis and a coalition of some Yemeni fighters that they were able to gather, struck a counterattack and tried to install the functioning government back into the capital. They did it pretty effectively, but they got involved in this huge conflict because the Houthis are fighting back and they're pretty strong. And it's led to this whole civil war. The Saudi officials thought when they started their coalition, we'd just be in there a couple of weeks, make the Houthis surrender and move on. But it's been 6 years. It's been 6 years. The fact is, the reason the Saudis are involved is because this whole thing is a war on oil, essentially. And the coalition has had support from the US and the UK. Why? Because it revolves around oil. And you know how America is when it comes to oil. This war in Yemen is being fought over that one resource. That's what it comes down to. And it's cost a lot of things. And we're going to get into the human impact in a second. But I just want to get through the history real quick because former President Saleh was killed during the war, and President Hadi is basically remote working and ruling the country, quote unquote, ruling the country from Saudi Arabia, which is pretty weird. Okay. So the Houthis have basically began taking more and more control again, and they're even starting to bomb Saudi Arabia. So they're basically this is turning into a multi-country war at this point. But the Houthis want an independent country. That's their goal. They want their own independent country. They had an independent country way back from 1967 to 1990 called South Yemen, and they want that back, I guess. And the UN and other international organizations have been urging for a ceasefire for years, but it's looked less and less likely as the war has continued to go on. And Joe Biden in 2021 for America took out the designation of the Houthis as terrorists, and that Trump had put into place, and basically ended support for the Saudis because he realized, why are we supporting the Saudis when they don't align with our values at all? But that's America, because when we fight over oil, we just align with anybody. That's what happens. But the thing is, that's historical stuff of what's happening. The human loss of what's going on in Yemen is equivalent to that of World War II for a lot of countries, okay? Because as of December of 2021, the death toll of what's going on in Yemen is over 377,000 people. 377,000 people. Let's put some perspective into that. The amount of people killed due to the coronavirus throughout the world is only 87,386 people. In Yemen, 377,000 people have died over the course of 6 years. What's happening in Yemen right now is by far the biggest humanitarian crisis in the world and one of the biggest of all time. But I wanted to share with you something about an Uber driver that I had who was from Yemen. He's a Yemeni refugee who's here in America. He immigrated here, I believe, in 2015 or 2016. We're talking about what's going on in Yemen. And this is a paraphrased version of what he told me. He said this, and I thought it really rang true, and I think you guys are going to enjoy this. He said, they don't give a fuck about us. America, Yemen, no one cares. Half the fucking country's dead, but they still don't do anything. That's why I left. I had no choice. You want a voice of someone who's directly impacted by what's going on? Listen to this guy. Listen to him. But here's the thing. Humanitarian-wise, here's what's happening. 131,000 out of the 230,000 officially reported deaths are related to food, health services, lack of health services, and general lack of infrastructure in general. Uh, about 71% of the population is in humanitarian need or needs to be protected. That's an exorbitantly high number for those of you that it isn't registering. Many of the people in Yemen are experiencing famine-like conditions. Many children are malnourished. They don't have enough food. One of two people in Yemen don't have access to clean water. And to top all of this off, most healthcare facilities in the country, I believe it's closer to about 80% of healthcare facilities in the country, are shut down because of the war, or the healthcare workers aren't adequately trained to deal with all of this, or the ones that are actually adequately trained haven't been paid in years. And so they're doing this on a purely volunteer basis. So after all of this civil war is going on during a worldwide pandemic that we were all worried about. And the thing is, in Yemen, the pandemic numbers aren't exactly known to the full extent because the Houthi government, which is like one of the governments that's trying to, take over, is spreading a lot of COVID disinformation because they don't believe in COVID. And so that whole thing is not going. So in this war, the thing is, there's no good guy. There's no good guy that we should support because both of them are terrible. They're both killing each other, and 377,000 lives are lost. That's the thing that's getting lost in this. There's no good guy to support in the civil war. We just need to stop this fucking war. It's awful. Look what it's doing to people. And credit to Angelina Jolie. We talked about her a little earlier. She traveled over to Yemen, and she's made this issue kind of pop up in American mainstream media for the last couple days, which is amazing. I really do credit her because she does deserve that credit. And she's going out there to help and do what she can because there are a lot of people who frankly don't give a shit. There are people who just share infographics from the comfort of their own home in Los Angeles. But she risked her life. She's in Yemen right now. So good for her. She's doing what a lot of people wouldn't do. And mainstream media doesn't cover Yemen at all. So I just thought I need to do my job and educate people that there's this whole civil war going on in Yemen and so many people are being affected, and it really touched my heart, to be honest. And I want people to know about it because I hope that there continues to be coverage. I hope that Angelina has made her way out there and she just continues to spread the message of what is going on here because it is awful. It is absolutely awful. But yeah, hardly anyone talks about it in the media. The situation's getting worse. And I was thinking to myself, dude, let's do something. Let's do something, right? Because at least I should, be sitting here and doing some action. I can't go to Yemen now. I don't have the clout. I don't have the power, any of that. But I want to do something. So I decided every share that anything related to Yemen gets on TikTok, every tag I get, basically every tag I get. So tag me on Instagram, tag me on Twitter, every tag that I get, and you share a video of mine related to Yemen, whether it be the historical context, whether it be any of it, I'll donate 50 cents to Save the Children. So I checked Save the Children. I know we did a whole topic on celebrity philanthropy. I checked it. It's a very well-known charity throughout the world, and they help with all sorts of humanitarian crises throughout the world, not just Yemen, but they help the children, and most importantly. And in Yemen, they're helping the children, and they're helping them get warm, and they're helping them get food and water and all these basic needs. And this issue honestly did touch my heart, and I genuinely mean that. So if you share this video, you put at the Changavi Show on Twitter, on I'm not on Facebook, but on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok, you tag me, you share my video, I will donate 50 cents in your name. I would donate 50 cents to Save the Children because this issue is very, very important to me. And when I think of the Middle East personally, I think of a place that's so rich with religious history, so rich with diversity and culture. But America and the media has made it seem like it's the worst fucking place in the world. When in reality, the Middle East is amongst one of the most beautiful places on planet Earth. It truly is, in its culture, in its people, and everything related to the whole situation, and everything related to their whole region. It's absolutely gorgeous. But there are issues. And the kids, man. I mean, you just look at some of the pictures from Yemen. You can't even imagine it. We live in such an amazing lives here in first world countries. Like, I get to sit here and podcast at 8:30 in the morning. People wake up at 8:30 in the morning in Yemen and try not to die that day. And that's a reality. We forget. We have these moments of absolute gratitude, and it's like, holy crap. Like, it all comes full circle. And so I thought this would be a good way to do something. I promise I'm not doing this for clicks. I really, 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 really want to emphasize that. I'm not trying to be a fucking clickbaity influencer. I don't care if this gets 2 views. I don't care if it gets 1 share. I'll donate $1. I don't care. I'll probably donate a little more because I want to. I want you guys to just share this, because I want people to know what's fucking going on here. Okay. I don't want this to just be another issue that gets swept up under the rug. And I promise I'm not doing this for clicks. I promise I'm not doing this for clout. I promise that I am genuinely doing this because from the bottom of my heart, I care about this issue. And I really, 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 really care. And I just hope to invest, hopefully, in the future of humanity and the future of just making sure that people are okay, because I think it's our job as fellow humans to make sure that we're at least able to live properly. I think that should just be a goal of ours, personally speaking. But those are the 5 topics. Or sorry, I did 4. I did 4 topics. There's one more topic that I had, but I'll do it on a little bonus show is what I've decided. That's what I really wanted to talk about today. 50 minutes. I know it was a little short of a show, but I hope we dived really in depth into these topics. And again, I just want to emphasize, you share any video of mine about Yemen, whether it be the YouTube video, the TikTok video, just tag me. I will put 50 cents down. And then I wish it was more. I wish it was like $1. You know what? Fuck it. Let's make it $1. You share this video, I will donate $1 in your name. To Save the Children, which is an incredible foundation that does a lot of great work in Yemen with the children and with the kids. You share any video of mine, YouTube, Instagram, whatever social media platform it may be, I will donate $1 in your name. And that's a promise from me. And you can follow up on that with me. I will, because what's going on in Yemen is an absolute just an absolute travesty, and we need to talk about it more. That needs to get into the conversation. So I hope that one day people do realize what's going on. But I could talk about this last topic for like a couple minutes here. It won't be super in depth, but I wanted to talk about like our mentality about prisoners. This initially started as this topic that I had because I thought people would continue to be like, I think we live in an era, again, that we just overgeneralize things. And so we assume all prisoners are bad. We assume all veterans are bad. And I have a little hot take for you guys. I want you guys to marinate on this for a second. I think the 3 most disrespected groups in America, besides race, actually 4 most disrespected groups in America will include race, veterans, Native Americans, African Americans, and prisoners. Listen, there's a lot more disrespected groups in America. Of course, I'm not saying Asian Americans aren't disrespected and there isn't a bunch of people who aren't disrespected. There's a bunch. But I would say veterans, and just like including people in general, veterans, Native Americans, African Americans, and prisoners are the 4 groups that are just treated like absolute garbage in this country. There's evidence, there's proof everywhere. And the fact is there's not a lot of veterans. And the fact is there's a bunch of veterans and Native Americans in prison because no one cares about them. There's a lot of overlap, and I think we just need to take a long look at the way we look at criminals, the way we look at veterans, the way we look at certain groups of this country, because we just let them rot. And we acknowledge that collectively and move on. So no one's really doing anything to change that. I thought I would just bring it into the conversation real quick before we end the show. I know it's like a minute, but my computer is running out of battery. And like I said, I think it's funny that there are people that fight for BLM, but the same people that fight for BLM are the same people that are like, I hate prisoners with all my heart and I want them to die via the death penalty and they should all just go die. Failing to recognize that most people in prison are African American and or veterans that really just have had such troubled lives due to systemic problems that are going on in this country. Critically think, guys. I think that's what I'm trying to say. And we treat prisoners like they're the scum of the earth. But I really wish that we have some prison reform in this country, because I think that's one of the top issues, in my opinion. I'm going to talk a little bit more about prison reform on another show. But thank you guys so much for listening. 53 minutes on the block. Appreciate all of you for tuning in. Like and subscribe to the show if you like it. If you're on YouTube, if you're on Spotify, feel free to hit the follow button. If you're on Apple Podcasts, feel free to leave me that review. Sorry about the lighting changing. It's like, the sun's coming up. It's 8:38. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. It really means a lot. Again, with the Yemen stuff, you donate, share, tag me. I'll donate $1 in your name. Promise. Anyway, thank you guys so much. Appreciate all of you. This is Anuj Changavi signing off from the San Francisco Bay Area. Episode 28 in the books. Appreciate all of you. Thank you so much. And I will see you soon. All right, guys. Peace. Have a great day.